Thanks very much for joining us. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, one of my favorite holidays, and you know what that means. It means the start of the holiday shopping season, a crucial period of economic activity for retailers across the state. Here with a preview of that and an overview of the economic conditions for retailers in Massachusetts is the president of the Retailers Association of Massachusetts, Jon Hurst. Jon, welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you, John. Always a pleasure.
So, what has this year been like for local retailers, and what are you hoping and praying for the big finish?
Yeah, John, I think the story on 2023 is that sales are up a little bit, but not as much as the rate of inflation. So there's an issue here that I think consumers are certainly having some issues, and therefore small businesses, the sellers are having some issues on how far the dollars stretch. We've had the inflation issues, and now we have interest rate issues, and that's cutting into the budgets of a lot of families for their normal spending, and we'll see if that continues into the holiday season. But most of our members are seeing transactions this year equivalent to last year, the number of transactions. But any dollar increase is really the increased cost of the goods, inflation.
Well, when you see polls showing here and elsewhere widespread dissatisfaction with the economy and with government's handling of it, does that make sense to you in terms of your understanding of the consumer's frame of mind and the way they've been behaving?
The consumers have to balance their budget just like every small business, just like any employer. And it's getting more difficult. And if they're not balancing their budgets, they are borrowing, and they're borrowing at interest rates that you and I haven't seen for decades. So, that's a problem, and that's causing reduced levels of consumer confidence and therefore reduced levels of spending. And for small businesses, it's creating really a profitability issue. Maybe they're selling as much as they did last year, but their costs are way up and their sales are relatively flat.
Well, surely Beacon Hill's recent passage of an array of tax breaks jump-started consumer confidence. Yes? No?
Well, of course, it's going to take a while for some of that to work its way into the economy.
Okay.
A lot of it's phased in. I think it was a very good message. I hope it's only a down payment of other ways that consumers can spend more of their own dollars. Small businesses can spend more of their own dollars. They know better how to invest back into the local economy. They believe, and I believe that they do. They know better than the elected officials. So, convincing the elected officials of that is always the problem.
Yeah, well, you and other business leaders said when the tax package passed, obviously it wasn't everything you wanted. That's par for the course in politics, but that the work needed to continue. They needed to go back for a second bite, or it wouldn't really amount to much. You still feel that way?
Well, absolutely, John. We've done, I think it's important, whether you're an elected official or you're an organization like ours, to really do some testing of where the consumers, who are also voters, where are they coming from? We did some testing last June, and it showed that 86% of the voters out there would like to see a sales tax cut. 79% wanted to see an income tax cut. Now, we didn't see either of those, obviously, in that tax package. However, there are some things that can go back to the consumer and some things that can go back to the employer. So it's a start.
I got to take our break here, but that tax cut sentiment, was that sort of par for the course, higher numbers than you've seen lately, or
I think
lower?
It's higher. I think, look, they feel a little stretched,
okay,
and they would like to keep more of their disposable income,
and they're identifying
as opposed to sending it to the politicians.
Right, okay. On that note, let's take our break, and we'll continue our conversation with the president of the Retailers Association of Massachusetts, Jon Hurst, in just a moment. Stay with us, please. Welcome back to our conversation about the economy, the local economy, and from the perspective of our retailers with the president of the Retailers Association of Massachusetts, Jon Hurst. Tourism took a big hit during the pandemic. Has it completely come back?
Well, it's coming back. Consumers have so many dollars that they can spend each month, as we know. They certainly weren't spending it on tourism during the pandemic. They were spending it on a whole lot of purchases that were being delivered to their front door. Right. Not even being spent here locally. But as the pandemic was fading, they spent more on tourism. They spent more on going out to eat. And we're still seeing, still pretty good numbers for dining and also now automobiles coming down on some of those products that they were buying during the pandemic and having delivered to their front doors.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but foreign tourism to Massachusetts cratered.
It absolutely did. Absolutely.
How about that? Is that coming back?
A little bit, but look, you take a walk downtown Boston, Faneuil Hall area, Quincy Markets, Newbury Street. We've got a ways to go. Downtown Crossing has a long way to go. We need to get more people feeling comfortable about coming into Boston and spending dollars in Boston.
Well, Jon, theft has become an increasingly bigger issue for retailers. You estimated last summer losses here in Massachusetts could top $2 billion.
That's right.
What's being done about this, if anything? What is it you want government to do?
Well, we need to change. Number one, we need new laws. Massachusetts made a very big error about 6 years ago in raising the felony threshold for theft from $250 way up to $1,200. A lot of people complain about California, but their felony threshold is actually lower. It's about $950. So you have a incentive really for thieves. This is their job. They're criminal thieves. They're going out there and they're buying because it's low risk and high returns. So
stealing, you meant to say?
The stealing.
Right.
The stealing.
Not buying. Yeah.
Yeah, the stealing is, and so they steal it and then they sell it, online and marketplaces and so forth. And what we need to do is to raise the penalties, and we need to find the real bad actors and prosecute them and put them behind bars.
I mean, you mentioned California. I think we've all seen the terrifying videos out of San Francisco and some other places of this sort of, what do they call it, sort of flash mob theft, where a mob of people descend on a store and just trash the place. Haven't seen that much of that here. Is that a concern?
Well, it's all a concern. A lot of the concern is just these criminals going in and stealing and then fencing it. But there's also the concern of whether the consumers, the honest consumers, feel comfortable, feel safe in going into the stores and the downtown shopping areas and spending their dollars there. We don't want to incent them to buy from their couch at home on their laptop.
Right.
We want them to spend the dollars in our economy, not in someone else's.
One last thing in our final moments here. Former New Hampshire Senator Kelly Ayotte is running for governor now, and the election's next year. And she kicked off her campaign by playing the Massachusetts card, saying, we're just one step away from turning into Massachusetts up here, and we don't want that. Do we still have a relationship that would support that kind of rhetoric in terms of we lose a ton of business to New Hampshire, they're eating our lunch, we hate them, they hate us?
Well, look, we've known for years that billions of dollars of consumers from Massachusetts take the dollars north of the border. We need to do something to incent them to staying here and spending their dollars here. We also need to lower the cost for our small businesses to operate here. They pay the highest health insurance premiums of any state in the country and far higher than big government and big businesses in Massachusetts. We talk about equity, nothing less equitable than our small business health insurance laws in Massachusetts. We need to fix that, and we need to do more on taxes as well.
Well, look, good luck in the holiday shopping season to you and your members. Buy local, everyone.
Well, keep the dollars right here in our economy. That helps out your small businesses and helps out jobs.
Helps out everyone. Jon, thanks for being here.
Thank you, John.
And thank you for watching. Right now, back over to my colleagues for much, much more WBZ News.